Hello everyone, welcome to Oracle F1 channel. In this video, I am coming up with another interesting topic, Oracle 19C new feature, Oracle SQL Quarantine. So for this, I have prepared the high level steps. I have seen you like in this video, we are going to see Oracle 19C feature, SQL Quarantine. This feature will not be available for on-premises databases, but still we can test in our Oracle 19C Enterprise Edition database. There is a way to fetch the Exadata environment on your sandbox or lab databases for testing purposes. Okay. Then, if you want to play and learn this functionality, please do watching this video, which I am going to demonstrate on my lab environment, and I am suggesting and I strongly and strictly suggest you all to be used in your sandbox for this test on your personal databases for learning and for testing purposes. Do not implement this at this work environment and a real-time environment, which will be broken to the license agreement. Okay, here the high-level steps are that you need to carry it out for this demo. First, we need to check that Exadata environment feature enabled or not. If not, we need to enable it and create a test user with the necessary privileges and set up resource manager with the following steps: create a resource plan, create a resource consumer group, create a resource plan directives, grant switch privilege for resource consumer groups to users or roles. And then as an user to resource consumer groups, specify a plan to be used by the instance. Run the select statement that will take longer than the specified limit in resource manager. This SQL statement should get terminated, and then determine the SQL ID for the SQL statement. Create a SQL quarantine for the SQL statement. Run the select statement again. This time the SQL query should not be even execute. Okay, these are the steps we are going to perform, and let's do it as a practical demo. Let's go to the demo. Here it is. The database I am going to start up. So now check that the Exadata feature enabled or not. Now it's not enabled, it is showing false. Now we will enable it. Scope equal to SP file, and then we will bounce the database. I am bouncing the database after making the change, enabling that Exadata feature. Now you can check. So it is enabled. So now we will log into that go to that pluggable DB alter system set container. Okay, next we are going to create a user. Okay, next we are proceeding with the creating user and granting. So create user, grant. Okay, next step 3, resource manager with the following sub steps we are going to create. So begin, we are creating that create pending area first, and then create resource plan. So test plan already exists, so we can skip this line. Otherwise, we can drop and recreate it. So already exists. I am skipping this one, and create resource consumer group. So create consumer group also exists. So in these steps, I will be posting my Oracle DBA blog. So whoever wants to test in your lab environment, you can use these steps. And next, create resource plan directives. So that is also already exist. So already I have tested in my lab. That is what it is. I did not delete that groups and all. So I'm doing it. So already exists. We can leave it, and we can validate this one, pending areas. So validating, submit the pending areas. We will submit. Now step 6. In the steps, we need to assign the grants of the consumer group of the user. So we will execute this one. Manager creating pending area. Next, assigning that grant switch privilege for reserved consumer groups to users or roles. So we are assigning this test user one group. So assign user to reserve consumer group. So now we are going to assign the consumer group to reserve test user one. Now validating pending area. Because again why we are validating, like we have created assigned to the user, right? So that it is validated and submitting the pending area. So these are the steps and the subtask we need to perform. So it is done. At this point of the time, the resource manager is setups completed. So next, the only outstanding step is to assign the created plan to the instance. So now what we need to do, alter systems and resource manager plan equal to test plan. So we need to assign this one to the instance. Okay, this is also done. Now run a select statement that will take longer than specified limited resource manager. This SQL should be get terminated. Okay, the statement must be executed on test user, and the test user has to have a DB gives. So now we need to connect. We are going to connect as a test user. So yes, we are going to connect. So user test user. Okay. Now I am going to run this query. So we need to grant like DB objects to. So we need to give a DB views to that user, test user. So I have created DB updates to test user. Now again connect to that test user. Now we'll execute this query. Now we'll execute this query. What will happen? Now we need to connect as a test user. Now we'll execute. This is a bad SQL. It will get terminated. So this query, this mentioned query get terminated at the execution with ORA 00440 040. So actually I have mentioned in 10 minutes. That is what it's running. It should mention like 5 seconds. It will get terminate with that error ORA 0040. Then what we need to determine the SQL of the statement. SQL the statement. So you can get that SQL ID of the statement. So here is the SQL ID. This is the SQL ID of the statement we need to determine. So after that, the SQL ID of our statement is this one. Okay, we have identified the SQL ID. This is the SQL ID. Okay. Create a SQL quarantine. Now what we are going to do, like we are going to quarantine the SQL. Like we can put this SQL ID here. We can create this one SQL quarantine. So created. Now you can query the DB SQL quarantine view that SQL is quarantined. Okay. Now you can see this view. Select name, SQL text, SQL text. Select name, SQL text, plan, hash, value, signature, origin, last executed, enabled from. So SQL quarantine is enabled. You can see call name path. Okay, last executed. We can remove this column also, last executed, and we can see. So forgetting formatting itself. So this is that name SQL quarantine. So SQL quarantine. This SQL is getting quarantined. Okay, this is SQL quarantine, and this is a SQL text. So plan has value, signature, and resource manager, origin, resource manager. It's enabled. So SQL quarantine is enabled for this SQL. So next, from the select statement again, this time SQL should not even execute. So last time it is got executed, and it should come with 10, that it should come with this error. Because why? Because it's not coming, it's executed. Why it's not coming? That I set around 10 minutes to run this query, like it will run till the time. So I need to mention like a very short of time, like 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds. Then we will notice that the resource manager terminated the execution like with this URI error. So we have I have identified this SQL execution of the SQL ID, and I have created this quarantine SQL quarantine like this, and now I am going to execute the query again. So where I am going to execute, I need to connect it back again on the test user. This I am going to connect. Now I am going to run this query back in the query again. So let's see. It should not run. Yes, you can see now what we are getting, the quarantine plan used. So you will notice that now that did not even execute. It terminated with that error. So what we are getting, that 56955 error we are getting. So the SQL now it's been quarantined. It's a bad SQL. Okay. So once you identified that SQL is running on the live the database end, if you are identifying this is a bad SQL, you can identify that, determine the SQL ID. You can create a that SQL ID to be quarantined. So now we need to create like this way for quarantine that SQL ID. So SQL quarantine SQL worker 30 like begin quarantine SQL DBMS SQL quarantine ID SQL ID. In this SQL ID will mention. Now you run, you will get the quarantine plan is used. So if you want to view check the view SQL view, you will notice two columns that are new SQL quarantine and avoided executions. So now we will check. Now we will check that SQL ID we will here and like I will run this query. I will run this query now. So there will be two queries, columns, newly added columns, SQL quarantine. So SQL quarantine used for this SQL ID. Okay, this is SQL ID. It's used for this plan. That's this one. And avoided execution one. I have executed only one execution, right? I will run this one another time also. Let's see what will happen. Like I am connecting this one and again, and I am running this query again. So you can see that query execution time, it will count will be increased. So it will come quarantine plan will be used. I have execute another time also. I have execute another time also. I will execute another time also. Okay. So I have used 4 or 5 times now, and then connect it back to sys user. Now you can see it will be the execution time will be. You can see avoided execution. How many avoided execution? So 5 avoided execution because it's using that quarantine plan. It's a quarantine plan, SQL quarantine plan. It is using this SQL, bad SQL. It should not run in the database end. So we have quarantined this SQL. So that SQL script we have quarantined in the SQL. Okay, so the SQL we identified and quarantined. So it's trying to execute. It should be it must be. It's not execute. It should be. It should come contact with this error. To come with this error content plan used, and you can see here SQL quarantine name and also avoided execution 5. Earlier you can see it is 1. I have executed another 4 or 5 times. It is showing 5 execution avoided. So like this way you can identify. Okay, now it is your time to give you a try and see how SQL quarantine works. Okay, that is what. And also we will check like this query also you can check like. You can see this is a plan hash value, this is a SQL ID, this is a SQL text, this is a SQL quarantine name, and avoided execution 5 times. Okay, this is really very interesting, right? But unfortunately, we should not use this in our real-time environment. Oracle Enterprise Editions, we should not implement this SQL Quarantine because it is cloud on-premise. It is not available for on-premises databases. It's available for cloud Exadata environments. Okay, it is a Exadata feature on Oracle 19c cloud environment. Okay, so I have got another note also that meddling note 19c new feature SQL Quarantine not work. This document also you can review and you should learn something about it, and I would like to you all go through this metallic note as well to refer back. So this is that metallic note. So you guys can go visit on metallic note and also know about it, why SQL new feature SQL content not work, why it's not working. You came to know. Okay, that's all my friends. This is all about Oracle 19c new feature SQL Quarantine. So I have clearly demonstrated with you all in this video. I hope you all like my videos, and I am exploring all the Oracle new features, 19c new features, and with this I have explored 3 of the new features. Already I have a couple of new features explored, which is Oracle 19c automatic indexing feature and Oracle 19c real-time statistics update. So with this I have explored on the third feature SQL Quarantine, and I strongly request you all to test in your lab or sandbox databases. And I would I don't you don't want to be test it in your real-time live environment and any of the databases, because it is critically broken your license agreement and all. Okay, thanks for watching Oracle F1 channel. Thanks for watching Oracle F1 channel. Kindly do subscribe and do sharing with your DBA friends, and I will come up with another interesting feature, another new feature in Oracle 19c in my next video. Thank you, my friends. Thank you.